Hey YouTube, Brian here, with another video on politics. Now last video we talked about Republican myths and stereotypes. We talked about debunking them and shedding light on the subject to see what was true, what wasn't, and to hopefully re-evaluate some of your guys' connotation on what Republicans stand for. Now, this video is going to be left versus right. Now some of you may be confused on that title, but I assure you, we'll get to explaining it. To start off this conversation and this whole video, I want to pull up the political compass. Now, the political compass is just your XY graph. Very simple. It has four labelings. It has your left wing, your right wing, your authoritarian, and your libertarian. Now, what do these mean exactly? Well, the left and the right is relatively interchangeable with things like liberal and Democrat. When you're left, you're a liberal, you're a Democrat. When you're right, you're a conservative or you're a Republican. The difference, however, between some of these things are the authoritarian and the libertarian side. The authoritarians are people who want heavy government involvement no matter what the issue is. Libertarians want less government involvement no matter what the issue is. So something that has a very high authoritarian that we can all relate to is something like the USSR. Whereas something that has very little and as much of a libertarian could be something like the Confederacy, where it's a very weak centralized government. Now, continuing on this notion, we gotta ask ourselves, well, what's the difference between the two? What's the difference between left and a right? Well, to start this off, I want to talk about them economically speaking. So, on the left, we have something that we'd like to call the liberal to social ideal of what the government should be. And their idea is that the government should be heavily involved in economics. There should be a lot of regulation, there should be a lot of rules, a lot of taxation on both individuals and corporations to help fund things that they provide for their people, like healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, welfare, Social Security, and the list goes on and on. Family leave, all this other stuff. Now, the rights, on the other hand, believe in the opposite. The right wings, the conservatives, or the Republicans, believe in less government in this aspect. They believe that the government shouldn't be involved in what goes on economically speaking, because they believe in capitalism and free enterprise and that the market will do what the market will do. And that government intervention only hurts it and the expansion of what happens during it. So with that being said, Republicans, right wings, conservatives tend to have lower taxes on individuals and corporations. They don't have any of these government handouts or programs like welfare and all these other things that I listed previously. And it's much more of your old-timey 1800s style of what the government was about back in America. So to really say one's right or wrong is up to your personal preference, which one you prefer from an economic standpoint. Now, I want to say a couple quotes before we move on. And one of them are really underlining, the first one that I will say really underlines what Republicans, right wings, whatever you want to call them, conservatives, believe in. And the quote goes along the lines of, it's not an endless... It's not an endless list of rights. The right to education, the right to health care, the right to food and housing. That's not freedom. That's dependency. That's not rights. Those are slave rations. Hay and a barn for human cattle. P.J. O'Rourke. It really shows why, not why, but our ideology when it comes to believing that the government shouldn't be involved in things like social programs. We don't believe the government should be there to be a dependency. Another quote I want to say is, if socialists really understood economics, they wouldn't be socialists. That's from Frederick Hayek, and he is actually a Nobel Memorial Prize winner in economics back in 1974. Now, just had to take the jab at socialists. Now going on, we're going to talk about the difference between them from a social standpoint. And ironically, they're flipped. Lefts believe that the government should be out of your life when it comes to your social. Hence, liberals and Democrats believe in gay marriage. They believe in the legalization of marijuana. They believe in abortions and other things of that such. Right-wingers, Republicans, conservatives, like I said, interchangeable for the most part, believe in obviously the opposite. They believe that the government should be involved in your life and the government should tell you kind of how to live, with some exceptions I'll get to. Like, for instance, they don't like abortions. They don't like legalization of things like marijuana. And they don't like gay marriage. However, obviously there's stuff like libertarians, which I'll get to later, but also there's exceptions. For instance, the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment tends to be a very right-wing ideology. Republicans, conservatives, and right-wings believe that the right to bear arms is for the people, as it states in the Constitution. We believe in the full amount of the Second Amendment, to an extent. Certain groups believe in certain different kinds of regulations. Some people believe that there shouldn't be any regulations at all for any sort of firearms. Most people would agree that that's an awful idea, but most of right-wings can agree that any law-abiding citizen should be able to own really any firearm he or she chooses because the Constitution allows it. Whereas the lefts and the socialists and the Democrats and the liberals believe in the opposite, which obviously they believe that no, there should be a lot more guns, and in some cases, like in the UK, an outright ban on weapons. So there's definitely exceptions between each one of these throughout your economics and your social, just generalizing the two. And now I really want to get to libertarians. And the reason why is obviously because I'm a libertarian. Now, some people don't really understand what a libertarian stands for. And to put it simply, I take the best of both worlds. I take what liberals want socially with what conservatives want economically. I believe in little to no government, as stated in the Confederacy. And I don't really believe in a confederacy. I believe in what we have, which is a representative constitutional republic. I believe that that is a very great system of government. However, I believe that with that form of government, the federal should be much, much smaller in really everything. I don't believe the government should tell you how to live your life or run your business. That's just my personal thinking. I believe taxes should be lower. I believe the Second Amendment should be pretty much available to anyone who's a law-abiding citizen. I am with the Republicans on things like immigration, how we should be concerned with the well-being of our citizens before allowing immigrants, for instance, the refugees. Not saying that all immigrants harm the safety of our people, just saying, for instance, the refugees, as what I should have said instead of immigrants. I believe things like the refugee crisis should not happen for reasons such as, if you look at Europe, currently speaking, their rapes and violent murders and all this other stuff has dramatically increased since allowing tons and tons of refugees to come in. With this being said, I just want to summarize what we went over. To put it very simply in two sentences: left wing, right wing. Left wings are liberals or Democrats. Right wings are conservatives or Republicans. Now, side note, liberal and conservative is kind of true and kind of not. Obviously, the right wing has a lot more than just a conservative. Me, for instance, I'm a libertarian, but I'm a right wing. There's neocon and other forms, anarcho-capitalists, and that's just really the differentiating amount between the X and the Y axis that we brought in our political compass. Same with left wing. There's liberals, but there's also people like democratic socialists, national socialists, communism is a left-wing ideology, and all these other forms. And so obviously you have your two differentiating, but conservatives are very centralized on the right side. Liberals are very centralized on the left side, which is why we just tend to say left wings are liberals, right wings are conservatives. So, as I said, to summarize it, left wings believe that the government should be heavily involved in economics and the economy, and obviously going for a more socialistic economy. And in terms of the individual, it's hands off. Right wings believe in obviously the opposite. They believe that the government should be heavily involved in your personal life, but they really shouldn't be involved in economics. Now, obviously, as I said, there's variations between the two. Like, the easiest one to see is the government should be hands off of your right to bear arms when you're thinking of the Republican side of things. So, generalization of it, but that's really what the two ideologies believe. Now that we've gone over that, we can get to more depth videos later. That's for another time. Sorry for the big delay in this video. I apologize. However, I will be getting to more videos at a much quicker pace. Hopefully 3 videos a week. Fingers crossed. No promises on that though. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it opened your eyes just a little bit more to things like politics. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe. It means a lot to me. If you disagree with anything I really said in this video, please feel free to leave it in the comments below, and I will get around to it, because I like debating. I like talking about politics. And I'll be more than happy to hear what people who are watching my videos have opinions on these things. As always, guys, have a nice day. Keep your mind open. Keep your ears open.